Joy to the world. Um, again, and now I lay me down to sleep, and I think of the eternal rest in God, which is to be very much alive. And now I lay me down to sleep. I pray the Lord my soul to keep. There are four corners to my bed. There are four angels overhead, one to watch, one to pray, two to lead my soul away. Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. Bless the bed that I lay on. Just want to touch on numerology for a moment. It was during the Carter administration, and there was hostages in Iran, in Iraq, and Mr. Carter, God bless him, he had brought down the speed limit all over the United States to 55 miles per hour. And I remember driving by, I was on US 1 going north, I believe, and just my mind adverted to the speed limit sign, that it had 5 letters in speed, limit had 5 letters, and in the 55, so 4 5s. And then just like that, it hit me that there's 5 books in the Torah, the first part of the Bible, that when David went out to fight the giant Goliath, he picked up 5 smooth stones. There's the 5 wounds of Christ, his hands, his feet, and his side. That in the apocalyptic literature, when we're talking about Christ coming again in glory, there was 10 bridesmaids waiting for the return of the bridegroom. 5 were wise, 5 were foolish. And I went on after that to realize that numbers can be a teaching thing. Like if I look at my own name, for instance, Patrick has, I think it has 7 letters in it. Again, 7 is the perfect number. Oh, thank heaven for 7-Eleven, 7-Up, Snow White and the 7 Dwarfs, the Magnificent 7, 7 Wives, you know, it goes on like that, 7 colors in the rainbow. Joseph has 6 letters in it. And it was on the 6th day that God created you, whoever you are at this moment, in his own image and in his own likeness. If you reflect the number 6 from on high, it'll come out as a 9. Like 666 reflected on the water is 999. And 9 is a symbol of harmony. And man is meant to be in harmony with God. And when he sins and says, I am God, he turns himself upside down. He becomes 666. The Antichrist. So it's a wonderful thing. It's just a way of seeing, and it can be very helpful. Like 8, for instance, you know, 8 turns on its side is the symbol of infinity. So anyway, back to the subject. Patrick has 7 letters in it. Joseph has 6. Francis has 7 again, and O'Doherty has 8. And all of my name adds up to 28 letters. So you can see good in everything. So if you ever want to do, I could set up a tent for the interpretation of names and what it means and the significance of names. Okay, we're in chapter 13 of Mark's Gospel, and we're in what they call the eschatological discourse. Jesus is going to talk about the end of the world and the end times. Now, all of this would be kind of reading the book of Revelation in one chapter. The book of Revelation basically is saying Christ has died, Christ is risen, Christ will come again in glory soon to judge the living and the dead. So Mark 13. As he, as in Jesus, was leaving the temple, one of his disciples said to him, look at the size of these great stones. Master, look at the size of those buildings. And Jesus said to him, you see these great buildings? Not a single stone will be left on another. Everything will be destroyed. And while he was sitting facing the temple on the Mount of Olives, Peter, James, and John, and Andrew questioned him privately. Tell us, when is this going to happen? And what sign will there be that all this is about to be fulfilled? So they want to know when. When. Now, if you were to say to me, priest, when is the second coming of Christ? I would always tell you it's today. It's today. It's today. It's always today. But we do know that Christ will come again in glory soon to judge the living and the dead. So anyway, he said all this will be thrown down. Or you look at Queen of Peace Church. It's rather magnificent. It's built in the shape of a cross. You know, it was Francis of Assisi who said one time, preach the gospel at all times, if necessary, use words. Well, the building at Queen of Peace, it speaks. It's the sign of the cross, the building itself. And if you go inside the building itself, the whole Bible is up on the walls, from Genesis to the book of Revelations. So they want to know, when is it going to happen? Now watch this, what Jesus says. Then Jesus began to tell them, take care that no one deceive you. Many will come using my name and saying, I am he, and they will deceive many. When you hear of wars and rumors of wars, do not be alarmed. This is something that must happen, but the end will not be yet. So since the time of Christ up to the present time, there have been wars and rumors of wars, nation against nation. At the moment, it's pretty bad again. We've had world wars, and then of course we have that war on the unborn child. And just to reiterate, since 73, we've killed 63 million children. And I'm not counting the ones that are killed by artificial birth control and in vitro fertilizations and all of that. So, for nation will fight against nation and kingdom against kingdom. There will be earthquakes here and there. There will be famines. This is the beginning of the birth pangs. Be on your guard. They will hand you over to Sanhedrins. You will be beaten in synagogues, and you will stand before governors and kings for my sake, to bear witness before them. Since the good news must first be proclaimed to all the nations. Must be proclaimed to all the nations. Now, I think myself here that it is actually happening, that the good news is being proclaimed to all the nations. Like you can see it here because of the beauty of technology, that a fool like me with Facebook can preach the gospel to the ends of the earth. So I'm grateful. And when they lead you away to hand you over, do not worry beforehand what to say. No, say whatever is given to you when the time comes, because it is not you who will be speaking, it will be the Holy Spirit. Brother will betray brother to death, and the father his child. Children will rise against their parents and have them put to death. You will be hated by all men on account of my name, but the man who stands firm to the end will be saved. Now, you heard it there for yourself. Brother will betray brother. But this part here touches my own soul, because I have to preach to the nations every day. And where Jesus says, and when they lead you away to hand you over, do not worry beforehand about what to say. No, say whatever is given to you when the time comes. There's that Russian lady out there who said to priests, and I heard her, She said, don't prepare your homilies. She says, your sermons. Um, uh, Speak the word as it is given to you at that moment. So it's a bit frightening in a way. You lose control. Preach the word. We're in the end times. When you see the disastrous abominations set up where it ought not to be, let the reader understand, then those in Judea must escape to the mountains. Just a minute now. While the fingers try to separate pages here. If a man is on the housetop, he must not come down to go into the house to collect any of his belongings. If a man is in the fields, he must not turn back to fetch his cloak. Alas for those with child or with babies at the breasts, when those days come. Pray that this may not be in winter, for in those days there will be such distress as until now has not been equaled since the beginning, when God created the world, not even, nor ever will be again. And if the Lord had not shortened that time, no one would have survived. But he did shorten the time for the sake of the elect whom he chose. So there's two things going on here. There's the destruction of the temple that Jesus is prophesying, that a stone will be left upon a stone. And the temple was destroyed during the time of Titus in the year 70. And the Wailing Wall of the temple is still there. So there's one prophecy. But he links that then with the prophecy of the end of the world. And if anyone says to you, look, here is Christ, or look, he is there, do not believe him. For false Christs and false prophets will arise and produce signs and portents to deceive the elect, if that were possible. You therefore must be on your guard. I have forewarned you of everything. So he forewarned them about the destruction of the temple, and that there would be wars and rumors of wars down through the centuries. But the end will be the apocalyptic coming of Christ. When that happens, the universe itself will disappear with a roar. And we haven't yet reached the end of the universe. Scientifically, space-wise, the universe itself will disappear with a roar. The elements will catch fire. The earth and all that is in it will be burnt up. And we will see the Son of Man, Jesus, coming on the clouds of heaven with great power and glory. And the sea will give up its dead, and all who are buried in the dust of the earth will rise. So, but in those days, after that time of distress, the sun will be darkened, the moon will lose its brightness, the stars will come falling from heaven, and the powers in the heavens will be shaken. And then they will see the Son of Man coming in the clouds with great power and glory. Then too he will send the angels to gather his chosen from the four winds, from the ends of the world to the ends of heaven. So you think of all the people as 9/11 being vaporized, Pearl Harbor, World War I, World War II, their bodies. He will gather his elect from the four winds, just as Moses or Jesus rose from the dead. All the dead who have ever been buried will also rise on that day. Take the fig tree as a parable. As soon as its twigs grow supple, and its leaves come out, you know that summer is near. So when you see these things happening, know that he is near, at the very gates. I tell you solemnly, before this generation has passed away, all these things will have taken place. Heaven and earth will pass away, but my words will not pass away. But as for that day or hour, nobody knows, neither the angels of heaven, nor the Son, no one but the Father. So beware of those who say, it's going to be on whatever, January 13th. All I can say to you is that when it does happen, it will be today. Christ coming in glory. Be on your guard, stay awake, because you never know when the time will come. It is like a man traveling abroad. He has gone from home and left his servants in charge, each with his own task. And he has told the doorkeeper to stay awake. So stay awake, because you do not know when the master of the house is coming, evening, midnight, cockcrow, dawn. If he comes unexpectedly, he must not find you asleep. And what I said to you is, I say to all, stay awake. So I could say to you, remain in a state of grace every day. Live like today is the second coming of Christ. Just live that way. He has died. He is risen. He will come again in glory soon. And only the Father knows. Amen.